I'm so excited for this. I feel like you're
Me
adding
too.
to my legacy.
Well, you've done
I appreciate
a
that.
pretty amazing job already
Oh, I don't know.
on that front.
I'm just doing what I'm being told to do.
Well, you do a great job of listening.
Thank you.
So it's incredibly casual and informal. And I told you the premise.
You just told me origin story.
Yeah. So it's like I'm of the belief that we all secretly and silently are telling ourselves who we are in the world and telling ourselves who we want to be in the world. In the world being like to ourselves, in our family, in our neighborhood, in our work, on the globe. But mostly silently and secretly. You know what I mean? And there's a reason why we sustain the personalities that we sustain and that we choose the career paths we choose, and all of these things have to do with who we believe we're supposed to be. You know what I mean? Why we don't stay in the relationships that we were in, and
Right.
you know what I mean? All of this stuff is like, I think it's a reflection of that.
Right.
But I think that storytelling, I think that, right? I don't have text to back us up. We started telling ourselves this from adolescence, if not earlier. You know what I mean? The first time like our parents tell us anything about us that's like a personality trait, we believe that. Like my parents told me I was funny. I believe it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm not funny all the time.
Right.
But I believe that's a character trait of mine.
Yes.
Even if nobody laughs.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So that's the core of it all.
Right.
And it just expands. The conversation just blooms from there.
That's interesting. Yeah. I agree with you. I think that there are things that we silently tell ourselves and things that we've experienced that have made us who we are, and then also the things that our parents, right, have instilled in us because of whatever they may have lacked or whatever they may have had, right? And then they just pour it into us. And I think that as I've become a mother even, now I view it from like a different perspective because I see how I'm shaping this young man. And who he's becoming. And I see the fears and where they come from. And I see the risks. And I try not to push against them. I let him just be a little bit riskier than his mom and his grandmom. Right?
Yeah.
So it's just interesting when you say that, because it really is, it is forming who I am by understanding not just what I've experienced in life, but also where I've come from.
Right. Yeah. And like, there's so many inputs, so to speak, to how our personality is developed. You know what I mean? Like, best friends in elementary school and throughout school, or relationships, or things that mentors have said to us. Opportunities that for whatever reason we got that the next person didn't get.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like all of these things mean something, you know, and I don't know, I think nowadays there is more of a call to sit with yourself and like learn yourself and pay attention to who you're being. But I think that a lot of it has to do with because there have been so many distractions from that over the course of the past few decades.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like there's a resetting, I think.
And the pandemic made us all sit.
The pandemic happened, right? And then it's like, wait, what am I actually
What am I doing?
Right?
Why am I here?
Yeah.
Why am I in this relationship?
Yeah.
Why am I working like this? What am I? Why am I drinking so much?
Right.
Why am I eating this?
Precisely. Yeah. So like, there's that cruise control that was disrupted.
Right.
You know, and then it's like, all right, so then life remains an adventure, because then, you know, like you're always in the cockpit of yourself.
Right.
And then however you express that, or whatever you know, confront in life, or what confronts you. Like I started this new, I'm entertaining this, for lack of a better word, ideology. Two ideologies, actually. One is radical optimism, which is incredibly challenging, but incredibly edifying, like ridiculously. And then the other is joyful discipline, which is also,
Explain that for me. Joyful discipline.
So joyful discipline in that, I think of discipline, the definition that I adopt of discipline is discipline is the ability to give yourself a command and follow it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So some of us, not some of us, if I don't have discipline, I'm either incapable of giving myself a command, or when I do, I don't follow.
You don't follow through.
Right?
Yes.
I don't make myself, or I don't make myself, one way or the other, right?
Right. It's stopping.
Right. So it's like either way, it's like in that cockpit, I'm not flying to the destination.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's the hurdle, that wall that people hit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
So, but joyful discipline is, I'm trying to explain this without conflating the two. But
I'm understanding it better, by the way, already.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like joyful discipline is like, listen, I can decide that anything is fun.
Right.
I can create adventure out of anything. You know what I mean?
You know what I tell myself sometimes when I'm working?
What's that?
I'm not working for the people, I'm working for the Lord.
Yes.
Our Creator, He
Right.
gave you this opportunity.
Right.
How
Right.
dare I do anything different than do my hardest?
Yes.
Because He
Right.
gave me this person to help them.
Yeah.
He gave me this opportunity.
I remember James Baldwin said something, and I turned it into like a different analogy. It was like, imagine being at a fast food restaurant, and somebody else pays for you to have a large combo meal,
Right.
and then the person at the register gives you a small. It would be against your own integrity to take it,
Right.
because somebody paid for me to have a large.
Right.
Like,
I want
it doesn't
the
matter if
large.
I
Right.
did or not.
Right. It's not
Somebody
about that.
paid for
Let's
that,
do the
right?
large. Right.
So in our lives, it's like being small is not an option. A large life has been paid for generations and generations and
Right.
generations.
Right.
And on this planet and in heaven. And you don't get to be small on the back of that much payment.
I appreciate you saying that, and I received the message. My cousin tells me that all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
I think you are large and luminous.
Apparently, but I don't feel it all the time.
Yeah.
I don't feel it.
Not all the time.
I don't feel it a lot of times.
Okay.
I just feel like I'm just moving, actually. I don't always know what it's going to lead to.
Yeah.
I just know that I've been called to love. That's what I do very easily. Since I was little, I'd sign my cards, Heart Kells.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if I send you something, I love you, because I genuinely do.
Yeah,
Not the people that are on the street randomly. I'm not going to just be like, I love you. But if I actually form a connection, I will love you.
Yeah.
Any ex, I've loved you. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know how to do anything but love. So I know if there's anything else I know that I was called on this earth to do, it was to love.
Yeah.
You know?
How would you describe your expression of love?
My expression of love is, so first, I read the Bible every day. I had a hard moment in time that we're not going to talk about.
Okay.
But what it did was it turned me closer to relationship with God.
Yeah.
So that doesn't mean I was in the church and falling out and everything else, but I did form a relationship with God, where I started reading the Bible to hear the messages, and I started taking risks an ordinary person like me would not take, like I expressed to you from the beginning, right? I asked my boss for an $80,000 raise. I, decided to jump out on my own.
Yeah.
I left relationships without any real reason. I stopped being friends with people for a little bit and put it on the back burner. Not that I don't still love you, even if I don't speak to you.
Right.
But
I'm doing
I have
something
to. I'm doing something, and I don't know why exactly, but I know that I will understand later. And it's all come to play out in a way that I do understand now. Why certain things had to disappear, and I had to do and act, because sometimes not just always letting go. People want to let go. No, we need people. We all need people. We are actually more alike than we are one, right? Rest in peace. Right? So we are all connected. We all have one creator. There's a oneness. So we have to move towards that oneness as much. So my desire, my goal is with every person that I meet, that I try to make that connection so that we can all link it back up to our creator. I feel that that's my role, to love in that way. Yeah.
I remember listening to a guy talk about he did like some sort of psilocybin retreat. So they did all the things.
Yeah.
Right, but it was all like in a group, and it was a thing.
Protected, yeah.
But I think he was talking about ketamine, and he had taken some ketamine, and then he talked about the it wasn't so much of I think it was like a vision, an actual mental picture that he had of Hitler. And the picture was of Hitler on stage in front of like, hundreds or thousands of Germans. And Hitler is speaking, and he's, voracious and colorful and loud and brilliant. And the realization that he got was that energy goes out to 1,000 people.
Right.
Then 1,000 people give him back energy.
Right.
That's how you become Hitler.
Oof.
You got 1,000 times cooperation on a thing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like even in a moment of a speech.
Yes.
Like you don't walk away from that speech and go like play Minesweeper or Solitaire.
Right.
You're charged up. You're gonna go do something.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I feel like the relationship with God is similar in that the more we tap into God and whatever the God is of your understanding,
Of course.
that amount of cooperation leads to more outpour.
Yes.
It's like with all of us, like anybody that cooperates with you, you cooperate with them.
You give back to them.
Yeah.
Right.
Or you give them more things to cooperate with.
Right.
Right. So I feel like it's the same way, and back to the oneness of it all. It's like this is all a matter of us cooperating, actually working along with each other, and not like fragmented agendas.
Yes, nothing can be done separate.
Yeah, nothing worth doing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Man, so how long has it been now that you've been that much more intentional about your relationship with God?
It's been since February 2019.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
So what has it taught you about yourself?
It's taught me that I can have patience. It's taught me that despite the fact that sometimes I'm viewed as kind, there's nothing soft about that kindness. Yeah. And also people don't necessarily want to see my other side either, right? Because I have boundaries, right? So, but that there's nothing wrong with weak about loving people. Right. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. We should all love people. Yeah. You definitely want to create your boundaries because people will come closer to you, and there will be some people that will need more of you. And sometimes you may not have it to give, so you have to preserve yourself at the same time. Yeah. And I think that was a hard lesson for me to learn. Like, how much do I keep for myself when I feel like I'm supposed to be doing this thing?
Yeah.
You know?
Right. Yeah, there's I think about the regenerative aspect of whatever the thing is. Like, does it give me back energy? Right. You know, because it's not about whether it's worthy or not, or
right.
Not,
exactly. It's not about that. Right.
Yeah, if I can't die for it.
Right.
I'm not intending to die for it.
Right.
You know what I mean? I can't just be exhausted because there's so much more to do.
There's so much to do.
Yeah.
There are so many people who need us.
Yeah. It's also like
in different ways.
It's against the design.
Yes.
The design is to be regenerative and to get energy out of life.
Yes.
Like we're not just here dying for decades.
Correct.
We get energy, and like that's what we're supposed to. I think that's what we're supposed to be looking for in whatever the work is that we do.
That's purpose.
Yeah.
The energy is the purpose.
Yeah. I heard something recently from I think Jordan Peterson. He talked about how responsibility and adventure are the same.
Yes. Jordan Peterson has some bars.
Oh, for sure. And like I thought about that a lot, and I wish he explained it more. But it was like, man, it's so much to do with what your paradigm is. Like,
yes.
What's your lens? You know, you're not seeing the thing.
No, you're not going to see the thing
through a lens.
Yes.
Maybe not just one. Maybe you got about 4 or 5 lenses that you see everything through.
Exactly.
And you're like, how come everybody don't see this thing as blue? It's like, well, because we don't have those lenses.
Right.
You know what I mean? And we have so much power to clean the lens, change the lens, remove the lens,
Yes.
add another lens.
Adjust it in whichever. You have to learn the art of pivot for sure.
Yeah, and as you go through life, it's like that's part of it.
Yeah.
Part of your job is changing and cleaning the lens constantly.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So that you can actually do whatever your work
Whatever
is
the thing
in
is.
earnest.
Yes.
You know, and receive in earnest. I'm reading this book right now. Sorry, I have a...
No, it's okay. It's okay. I can jump around.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm reading All About Love by Bell Hooks.
Yes.
And
I'm still on like chapter 2.
Yeah.
I own it
So
though.
yeah, like I'm not. I think I'm chapter 3. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a struggle for me to read.
Yeah.
It's such a struggle for me to read.
Her perspective is a little bit different from mine, and I find that that's why it's a struggle, which is why I'm still on chapter 2. But I do
Yeah.
intend to read it because
Yeah.
I find that the manner in which she is presenting the information is different. But what is your struggle? I want to understand.
So I have to remind myself. She says it, I think, in the foreword somewhere, that she describes it as she wrote a meditation. So this is not a textbook on love.
Right.
Even if the title feels like it's authoritative text.
Right.
It's like, this is her personal meditation, all about love. She's writing to herself.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I have to remind myself of that so that I don't get invested in, do I need to agree?
Right.
Right? Or is it right or wrong?
Right.
Like, that's not a part of the conversation, which is hard, which is not something I'm used to.
I was going to say, I definitely read things and I'm like, do I agree with this or not? You know?
Right? And it's like, I know immediately if I do or don't.
Right.
But I don't need to make it wrong because I don't agree with it.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
It's just not.
It's just different.
Yeah. So there's that. There's also, I have a hard time digesting a lot of feminist sentiment. Not feminist, not actual feminist study and text and
Okay.
like the actual positions of feminism, but the sentiments.
From a woman's perspective, you mean? Or?
It doesn't matter whose.
Okay.
Just the I think I'm a capitalist. That's
Okay.
the only is or ism. Any other is or ism puts
Okay.
people against people. I just, but the sentiments tend to be very singular in the description of men. It's like all men are the cavemen that we've
Okay.
only ever been.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
see.
And I know that's not the case for me, and I know it's not the case
For a lot of men.
in my circle.
Right.
So it's hard to like. I only have but so much salt. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like page after page is like, all right.
Yeah.
I don't need
Yeah.
no more salt,
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? So there's that.
Yeah. It's been a while since I've picked it up, but I know that I stopped at like chapter 2.
Yeah.
So I'll have to go back so I can give a real.
Yeah.
You know, maybe there was a reason for that, but.
Yeah. Right. Because
Yeah.
I picked it up because Social Knowledge is doing a book club, so they're meeting next Thursday to talk about it. So I was like, all right, I
Okay.
want to read it and
I might be
enjoy
free
the
next
dialogue.
Thursday. Maybe I
Yeah.
need to catch up. What
Yeah,
chapter do they do by chapters or the whole book?
I think it's the whole book.
Oh,
But it's
okay.
however much you read the book.
I might have to get onto the Audible.
Yeah, no, I do that. I read and listen to it, and it helps me a lot to read and listen at the same time. It helps me
Okay.
not to like if I feel like if I was just reading it or if I was just listening to the audio book, it would eventually become background.
I see.
You know what I mean?
I
I'd be
see.
a page and a half in before I realize I don't remember what I just read.
Right.
You know?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Your eyes are just
Especially if I'm
moving
not
across the
really,
words, right?
drawn to
Engaged.
it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like reading for school.
Yeah. So it's like it gives me a way to like slow down and actually consider.
I may try that with my son.
Yeah.
We usually read to each other. So like when if we're sitting down and reading, I'll have
Right.
him read to me and then I read a page, then he'll read a page, especially if there are no pictures in the book.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So
How old is your son?
he's 8.
Okay, beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dope. Very
So,
good.
that
try
helps.
it. I know all audiobooks aren't made the same. All books aren't made the same, but I think this one is the audiobook is sufficient enough that it actually helps me.
Yeah, it may be worth it to try it that way. At least I'll finish it. Because I was gifted the book and it's
Okay.
important to me that I Finish it.
You
know?
Dope. I've never read her work before, so it's like I'm appreciative of the introduction to this feminist perspective. There's also, she talked about in like the intro or the preface how her journey to love comes from a profound feeling of lovelessness as a child.
Ooh, that's a different perspective.
Yeah. So it's like,
why do I love the way I love? I've been trying to answer that question for a long time. I'm saying it out loud as if this moment, because she's saying lovelessness is the reason. I had a lot of love.
Yeah, me too.
I had a lot of love, and maybe that's part of it. You have so much to give.
Yeah, and you have it means you have a perspective of it. You have a point of view on it that somebody that didn't have it wouldn't have.
Right.
Like they don't see what you see out of the same experience. Even,
right.
So she talks about how women tend not to receive the love that they want. Men tend to. If you ask a man, does he receive love? Men tend to say yes. Many women, or the way she writes it, it's like women generally don't. And I'm like, that feels like a projection. That doesn't feel like.
I don't think she speaks for everyone, and I think that it depends on who you are with in that moment and what kind of love you're seeking. I'm assuming we're talking about relationships. So if we're speaking about relationships, I think it just depends on who you're with, and you can still feel love and break up with someone.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
So
done it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
Certainly, there's plenty of relationships where you don't feel love, and then you're like, well, why was I here in the first place?
Right.
Right.
Yeah, but it just keeps taking me back to where your origin story, meaning bell hooks on love. That's the perspective that I keep in mind about how I read this.
But it's also the narrative that you tell yourself, right? Because if you have shaped the story to appear that you didn't receive love, and maybe you didn't receive love from a mom and a dad, but you may have received love from a grandmother, you may have received love from a community. I'm big on building community for my son. He has his karate school, he's got his cousins, he's got his brother, and he has his people in different places, right? And I'm sure that if we sit and we think about it, everyone can create something for themselves. It could be the football team, it could be the classmate, it could be something. Even if the people are not here today, they were there at some point, and they were there for you in that moment. And I think that we shouldn't disgrace their moment and the fact that they were there for you at that time, despite the fact that they're not here today.
Right. Yeah. You don't get to cancel it out.
Yeah, you don't just get to say,
you still carry it with you.
Yes.
That's why you grieve them. It's because you still carry love.
Yes, you do. You still carry the love for them.
Yeah.
And you should.
Yeah. Like I think it's. Here's the thing, and I don't want to belabor shitting on her book.
We have to read it first. She might change it up in the end.
Right. I keep space open for that. But she talks about how the definition of love that she adopted from another writer on love. It is. I don't want to misquote it. The concept. I'm gonna go get it.
Okay.
Okay. Is the will to extend oneself for the purpose of nurturing one's own or another's spiritual growth.
Read it one more time.
Love is defined as the will to extend oneself for the purpose of nurturing one's own or another's spiritual growth.
I agree with that.
I agree with that. Mm-hmm. Right? And I agree with that through my lens of we are all spiritual beings.
Right, exactly.
Right? So
right.
That lines up perfect.
Yeah, it's completely.
But she also says that at birth we don't know how to love. We have to be taught how to love.
Right, I did see a line where she talked about the first attachment.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't agree with that though.
No.
We might not be able to articulate it from birth. We might not be able to apply it with the mastery that we get over the course of life. But I think as a spiritual being, and if that is the definition of love, we're born with it.
We are born with it.
And we
What
watch
is it?
babies and young children, and like they do it so very naturally.
Very naturally, they're gravitating towards you. They're
Yeah.
automatically seeking it, right?
Yeah, and
Whether or
like-
not they receive it in return,
Right.
and how that affects them.
Yeah.
But we're all capable of healing that and bringing it back,
Yeah.
right?
But it's like love, as far as like the giving and receiving of love, it's not a currency. It's not a measured currency. So it's not
Correct.
like if I give you $5, you have $5.
Correct.
It's like I can give you love that you don't receive as I've given it.
Entirely.
And I could give you a little bit and you expand it to be a lot more than
Entirely.
what it was.
Entirely.
Right? So like it's just so many variations I feel like or variables to love in and of itself.
Right.
But-
But ultimately, if your goal is to do no harm to that person and allow them to flourish in whatever way it is,
Yeah.
if that's your desire, then you've loved.
Yes. Yeah. So it's a challenge, but I'm enjoying the challenge of the book.
Yeah, I'll start over and I'll try to finish by next Thursday and be at Source of Knowledge.
There you go. Yeah. And I'm very interested in what the dialogue is going to look like.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
Everybody haven't read that.
Yeah.
Pivot. What's your relationship with death?
Okay. So I got diagnosed with polycystic kidney disease
Really?
in December 2018. Now, I want you to understand that this is a disease that people live until the age of 90 and not even know that they have it. I had to deal with it from the perspective of death because my best friend's mother died from complications of the disease
Got you.
a year and a half or so before my diagnosis. And I got a kid.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh. So I had to deal with my own death.
Right.
And I had to deal with it quick because I had to tell my best friend,
Yeah.
right? Because before I allow her to grieve, I have to grieve life,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, this might be it. And I have to understand that when I call her, she's going to cry, right?
Yeah.
So I had to deal with it, and I had to deal with it quick. But what I realized is that we don't know the day or the time.
Right.
We don't know when it's going to happen.
Right.
We don't know how it's going to happen. And I don't think that this is the thing that's going to take me out. People live till 90. I'm going to live till 90.
Yeah.
I eat the good foods. Every now and then I enjoy some strawberry shortcake, and that's cool too. You know? and that's okay.
Right.
But that is something that I had to deal with. So what did it cause me to do? It started making me open my eyes, kind of like what happened with the pandemic for everyone else. I started a little early.
Yeah.
So I started paying attention to what I was doing.
Right.
I started paying attention to what I was around.
Yeah.
The stress that I was experiencing in that moment, that I no longer wanted to experience that stress.
Yeah.
I started, I had a relationship with God at that point, not as strong as that February 19th that had me going to the Bible every day. Tell me where to go, Lord, right? But prior to that, I was already forming a relationship, right? And then I'm like, okay, what do we need to do to set up in the event that you only have 10 years?
Right.
What do you need to do?
Right.
Because it's not about the fact that you're only going to live 10 years. That's not it, right? You are going to live till 90.
Yeah.
But now we need to act with a little bit more urgency to prepare and also make sure that this child is well taken care of.
Yeah.
So I think that was the same year that I hit the $3.5 million verdict down in Middlesex County.
Yep.
And so, I mean, you clear your debt, then debt comes back, debt comes back, whatever. Right? It is what it is. I got my struggles. Debt comes back. So, but, I took care of some things.
Right.
And then personally, I started making decisions towards my healing so that I can be a better mother, so I can make sure that I was putting the things into my son that will last way longer than I'll ever be here. You know what I mean? That type of stuff builds, it snowballs into the generations that are to come. So that kid is going to be like prepared to lead his generation, right? So that was my only goal. I was like, as long as he's good, I'm good, right? So after that, you know, I ended up going through my spiritual awakening and started having a greater connection, and that urgency just picked up. And like I said, I didn't know that I was going to have the conversation with my boss that it was time to go. I didn't know that she was going to say on my 40th birthday year that I was I bought a new condo. I went to Curacao with my ladies and I couldn't relax because during that time I had already announced to my boss that I was leaving, and she gave me till the end of the month, even though I had a week and a half off for my 40th birthday. I'm like, lady, why would you do this? You're pushing me out. This is 14 years. You're pushing me out in 3 weeks. By the way, she gave me money. She gave me days off. Yeah, she was like, you have your vacation day, but I'm still going to continue paying you so you can set yourself up. So she still looked me out. I got my vacation days, and then she paid me an extra paycheck. But she was like, the end of August, we're done. And I'm like, I'm going to be in Curacao on the 11th, So it was stressful, but I was like, okay, God, Jesus, take the wheel, right? I don't control any of this anymore. And I realize that this life is not mine. And it's a little bit more comfortable being out of the driver's seat. Even though it looks like I'm in the driver's seat, it feels a lot better. Just breathing and saying, it doesn't matter what happens tomorrow, I'm good. I'm good. So that's how I deal with death too. It doesn't matter what happens tomorrow. I've done what I've come to do.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Oh my goodness, that's so beautiful. I love it so much.
Thank you.
And listening to you that tell that aspect in that story, and thank you so much for sharing that. It makes me think about how, so I also believe that life is just constantly preparing you for tomorrow. Like if you can see it, it's all preparation.
Right.
As long as tomorrow comes, it's all been preparation for tomorrow, and we are fortunate for the scale of experiences, challenges, and opportunities that we are afforded.
Yes.
Because if tomorrow is a greater challenge or a greater opportunity, we are at least in the motion of that, or in the experience of that realm.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So sometimes we get hit with something that's like, well, there isn't a heavier hit than this.
Right.
So whatever comes next is going to be lighter.
Exactly. Exactly.
I'm over-equipped for tomorrow.
Right.
But I think that everything is just preparatory, or preparing us for tomorrow, especially if we have intention. Especially if we have like conscious and conscientious purpose, then we need to be prepared.
Yes.
Because as long as we have purpose, that means we haven't achieved. Like, we're not finished.
Right. Right.
So to know that we're just constantly picking up more equipment, more preparation.
Oh, the equipment is to the left and to the right. I don't know where I'm going. I have no idea what's happening. And I look back, I look in the rearview mirror and I see where I've come, but I would have never guessed that I've been here. And, I know that I'm supposedly doing really well. It doesn't always feel that way. It just feels like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm grateful for the opportunities. I'm grateful for these moments,
Me too.
So it brings joy to me to have like connection and being able to have like you message me, DM me, and then all of a sudden I'm on your couch and I'm having this type of and it's a good conversation. You know what I mean? I would want to listen to this. I want to be part of this. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's just different. It's just so interesting how life works out.
Yeah, I've been talking about this practice that I started a few months ago to quite a few people, and it's I do have a little anxiety talking about it because it's been so profound. But I started what I call a goal ritual, right? And it's just a spiral notebook, and every day I write goals. And they're life goals. Like they're not things that I'm trying to achieve or accomplish. They're the person that I'm trying to be.
Yes.
Right? And the different aspects of the person that I'm trying to be in my best vision of myself. Right? And some of the things repeat, most don't. There's one thing that is on, there are two things that are on the list every day. One is a financial goal, so that I do have a tangible thing on the list. And I think that does a lot for me in terms of just how I move.
Yes.
I measure everything up against, I do have one tangible goal on
I have something that I need to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Everything else is the person that I'm involved.
Yes.
But this thing that's tangible, that's measurable, there's a date on it.
Right. Stop ordering from Amazon.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? And then, so I start every list with the last line. The last line is always, I'm grateful for these things being true. Right? And then I go back to the top and I write down until I get to the bottom of the page. And a couple of things that it's done for me is, one, it helps me to look forward at my day, right? Because I already have an assignment of who to be today.
Yes.
In light of whatever comes today. Like I know who I'm at my highest version intending to be today. Then it also allows me to see the opportunities to be that person when they come up. Like I see it as a thing connected to this life goal of a person, right?
Right.
And then, and then when I accomplish a thing, right? I've accomplished a life goal at lunch. And I carry that with me. Like I am that person.
You are. You did it.
Right?
Yes.
This life goal has been accomplished. And I'll do it again tomorrow.
Yes.
So it's like, I don't put life goals at the end of my life or years down the line. It's every day, and I actually get to meet some of them every day. I won't meet all of them every day because the day doesn't afford me every opportunity for every life goal. But even if it's one, it's amazing day.
That is.
It's an amazing day.
Do you know if you do one a week?
Right.
Can you imagine where you'll be at the end of the year?
I can, and I'm living
and you
it.
are living it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's like it is already proving itself.
Yes.
One day I had like a bout with anxiety. I've never had like an anxiety attack or a panic attack or anything before this, and this is like a few weeks ago, right? And I fortunately was able to be still quickly enough that it wasn't a full blown attack.
Yeah.
But I've traced it to being overwhelmed by the success of my day-to-day life lately. And not knowing how I'm doing this exactly. Like, I don't know what the formula is.
Yes.
I know I'm putting good choices in mind and putting good choices in my heart and choosing them when I see the opportunity to. I know that much, but I don't know the formula. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And something...
We're not supposed to know the formula.
We're not supposed to know. It's none of my business.
No. Nope.
And I liken it to like a farmer does not know how a seed becomes a plant with a seed in it or becomes a fruit with a seed in it.
Right.
Right? And he farms and has farmed his whole life.
You just have to keep planting the seeds.
Just what happens with seeds and soil and sun and light and water. And
yes.
It's the same. It's none of my... I don't need to know.
Yeah.
Just keep farming.
Yeah, I'm sure my team feels the same way. Like in the office sometimes they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm just fasting, spending some time with God, and I'm not eating this and I'm not doing that, da-da-da. And then all of a sudden, Kelly, so-and-so called about money. This called about money.
Yeah.
These people mailed the check, Cassie walked in and put the check on my desk in the middle of a day where I was stressed out about something else. by the way, this came in. And I'm like, I can't even cash that check because we didn't do what we needed to do.
Right.
But the check is just sitting in my face.
Right.
Like, so sometimes I think subconsciously we put things into the universe as well.
Oh, yeah.
It may be something. Speaking of subconsciously, I purchased, my lease was up on my car.
Okay.
And I needed a new car. And I decided, I'm walking around Branchbrook Park and I'm like, let me just go to BMW Bloomfield. They have a $17,000 BMW sitting there on the lot used. I'm like, all right, cool. I'll rock with it, right? It's a car.
Yeah, it's a car.
And it's a BMW.
Yeah,
And it's shiny.
It is.
And it's my favorite color, blue.
Love it. Yeah.
It's what I needed,
Yeah.
right? And it was here for me,
Yes, yes.
right?
Yeah.
So I get the car. The other day, I'm looking through my pictures. I don't know what I was looking for, but you know how you end up back in like years all of a sudden. And by the way, I'm not on Instagram, so I'm scrolling through my own pictures. So I'm scrolling through my own pictures. All of a sudden, I see pictures of myself in BMW of whoever. And what am I taking pictures of? A blue BMW X3.
Really?
Same car. In fact, the car that I was looking at, the sticker price was $38,000. It was a 2018. I got a 2017, but I got half the miles.
Yes.
And I paid half the price.
Yes. Oh my God.
Oh my God. Take the pictures.
Yeah, take the pictures.
Take the pictures. Write it down.
Yeah. Say it.
Say it.
Say the thing. Write it down.
Yes, do the thing too. We have to also do the thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Because if I didn't decide to cut my walk short
Right.
and go down to BMW, would that car have been there?
Right.
Actually, I know it wouldn't have been there.
Right.
Because the guy told me that he had another family with a young daughter that they wanted to buy the car for. And he had to call them just out of courtesy to let them know that I was looking at the car.
Okay.
So he said, if you're interested, it's first come, first serve. You need to come get this car if you want it, because I had to call the other family. I couldn't not tell them that you were looking at the car. So I came back and got it first thing in the morning.
So the optimism.
Radical.
Radical optimism. Radical optimism. Yesterday I went to the bank to deposit some money and didn't take my card out of the machine. And I found out this morning when my card wasn't in the wallet. And then I found out somebody did take the card out of the machine. And they went to Snipes and they bought some things.
Oh.
And then they went to the restaurant and bought some things.
Oh, no.
Right? Radical optimism. This is not me. This is radical optimism. Even in my mistakes, other people get fed and sheltered and clothed.
Yes.
Like, there is a possibility that somebody bought their child sneakers that they couldn't have bought otherwise, and got some food that they weren't.
And they think it's God for you.
Right. It's not for me to know what actually happened, and it's not for me to make it a story of loss or sorrow. Right? Radical optimism says, what's the best thing that I could fathom happening that I wouldn't be at all mad at this? And I'm like,
wait, so does that mean you don't challenge the credit card?
No, of course not.
Oh, okay. I'm like, okay.
But that's the other thing. It's like, oh. So in the concept of abundance, all that happened was more was made
Yes.
out of this mistake.
That is true.
Like, I didn't lose anything.
Someone
They didn't
ate,
lose anything.
right.
I know the car company didn't lose anything.
Oh, no, they definitely didn't lose. That's what I'm saying.
Really?
Challenge it for
Yeah.
sure. Okay, all right.
But it's like, oh, so this is
But
just
I agree.
abundance.
I agree.
It's just unorthodox.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. So radical optimism. That same 40th birthday.
Yeah.
I am now I just moved, right? So I moved from one house to another.
Okay, yeah.
At the same time, I'm moving offices, right? So now I'm standing in my office the day of my birthday that I'm going out with the gentleman for my birthday. And I'm like, I can't find my passport. I'm supposed to fly out tomorrow morning. to Curacao.
Yes.
And he's like, what are you gonna do? I said, I've looked everywhere. I'm just gonna kind of leave it to God to let me know where it is. And he was like, are you sure? We don't have to go to dinner right now. I'm gonna move the reservation, etc. And I'm like, okay, fine. If you wanna do that, then you could drive me back to my office. I'll check one more spot, my safe. Let me check the safe. I checked the safe, it's not there.
Right.
Can we go to dinner now? Because I gave you listen, I did the thing you asked me to do.
Right.
Can we go to dinner? Because I feel like it's gonna come up when it's supposed to come up. I got too many moving things happening right now. Yep. I just wanna enjoy my birthday dinner. If I don't go to Curacao, it's because I wasn't supposed to.
Got you. Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
Can we just go?
Yeah.
So we go, but he's looking at me like, this girl is crazy.
Yeah.
What kind of, how much did it cost for your flight? $700, right. And I got first class.
Oh yeah.
Because it's my birthday. Because it's my birthday. Yeah, girl, nah, you gonna find this passport. I'm like, all right, we'll look for it after dinner, right? So, after dinner, we go take some pictures, go back to my house, and I say, I think I got it. And I go to a spot, pick it up, hand him the passport.
Yeah.
I was supposed to miss dinner for this?
Right.
Radical optimism.
Yeah.
That's how I've been living my life for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
I have no idea what's going on day to day.
But the movement is intentional. It's like, listen, I really did leave it with God. So we can go to dinner.
We can go to dinner.
Like, there's no reason for us to still be pausing anything.
There's no pause here. There's no pause here.
Oh,
but how often do we do that? I can't say that I don't stress about 1,700 other things.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
But I'm working towards that at all times.
Yeah. And it's building momentum. And over time, less and less things get our attempt at control.
Right.
You know?
Right.
How did you decide to become an attorney?
Oh, since I was little, I was interested in it. Well, I went through the immigration process. My mom is from Marigot, Martinique, and my dad is from Akin, Haiti.
Okay.
Which is south of Haiti.
Yeah.
And they met in Martinique and moved to France and had me. So I was born in Paris, France. My son is first generation. Yeah, so now I have to go through the same immigration process that everyone else goes through. I went to court a couple times. I saw how well they were dressed. I'm like, oh, this is nice. Look at these people. They're smart. They're making decisions. They're doing all this stuff. They look good. My grandmother fell ill when I was about 12 years old. And we used to go, so she was from Martinique, but she would come, my mom has no family here.
Gotcha.
So she would come here every single year. Yeah. And there was a year that she had a stroke, so she couldn't come anymore. So we started going there every year or every other year at that point, right? So now in going there, on the way back, at that time, there were no direct flights from Martinique into like New York. It would be, you have to stop in Puerto Rico, usually. So we stop in Puerto Rico and I get detained. They pull me into a room. I can still remember the man's face, so I know that I was very much traumatized by it. It was two men, and taller, but I was 12. I've always been tall, by the way. So I'm 5'9", barefoot, and then I might have been 5'7". Gotcha. Right? So they pull me into the room, and they're like, "What do you have in your bags?" I'm like, "Clothes." Right. Do you have anything else in there? Because if you don't tell us the truth, we're going to send you back to your country. Now, at 12 years old, I already went through the immigrant experience where I'm like, I don't want to speak that language. Talk to me in English. Now I don't even speak French anymore. I had to relearn it after that experience. But in that moment, you're asking me, someone who is a native of France, but had turned their back to being American and to fit in culturally, right? That you're going to send me back to my country that I don't know, because I've only gone to Martinique at this point, right? I went to France, but I only know Martinique. You're not even like, that's mine? You gonna send me to France?
Right.
I got some aunties and stuff in there, but we go to Martinique. At least send me back to Martinique. You're gonna send me back to where?
Right.
I don't even speak their language. Their language.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So I said, if a lawyer was in this room, that would not have happened. That wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
This doesn't seem fair. I am 12 years old. Where is my mom?
Right.
It felt like an hour. It might have been 15 minutes. I don't know how long I was in the room.
Right.
I don't know how long I was in there. But that was enough for me to say, I'm going to go ahead and start following this path. Yeah.
And what type of law do you practice?
So I originally thought I was going to do immigration.
Okay. Yeah, of course.
I even got a certificate in immigration and international law from Texas Southern University,
Nice.
Thurgood Marshall School of Law. And then after that, after practicing at an I was a paralegal at an immigration firm for a short amount of time. I decided that I would have preferred to do something different. And so I went to the small firm, Catherine Houghton's office, and we did personal injury, family law, estate planning and probate. I did closings, I did municipal work, I did landlord tenant. She had me doing everything for those 14 years. Now that I run my own thing and I get to choose what I get to do, I do personal injury, family law, and because of all my work in the community doing estate plan, speaking about estate planning and the need for estate planning, I do estate planning and probate. I did it there, but now I do it here as well.
The $3.5 million
Verdict.
Thank you. Can you talk about that?
Sure.
What was that?
Yeah. So a guy was in a car at a light and he got rear-ended. He was in a pickup truck. The other car was in a smaller sedan. The insurance company offered $0. He didn't have any surgery, was kind of like their perspective. He was already disabled due to military. He also, there were things in, by the way, I can talk about this because he's allowed me to talk about it. But there were, they basically, they counted him out. He was previously military. He hurt his knees, had some workers' comp stuff going on. So he had prior existing injuries. And from their perspective, he was not worth making an offer.
An offer.
An offer. Zero. The damage on the car was light. It's a pickup truck. It was a sedan. The sedan was totaled.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Where does that energy go? Into the pickup truck. He was injured.
Yeah.
So we ended up having to try it. I didn't want to try it. I had no choice.
Why didn't you want to try it?
Because it was pointless. It just seemed like they should have offered him something. When I asked him how much he would have taken, he said he wrote down on a piece of paper $4,000. $4,000? You guys could have gotten rid of this for $4,000. He just wanted to get a new truck.
Right.
They offered nothing. So we go through the process. I open, I'm nervous as hell. Then we start going through.
3.5?
No, I'm suing for, you don't say an amount in Jersey.
Okay.
You don't say an amount. At the end, I use what we call the time unit rule, which is where you just basically let the jury know, like, this person has this much time left of their life.
Right.
And every hour that they're in pain of their life should be worth an amount. And then we tell them, we don't suggest an amount, but you tell them, come up with the amount. If this was your job to carry this pain, okay? So I did that. And what ended up happening was he's sitting next to me. They go start reading the verdict. And I remember the foreman was a young black woman, which she's in the first spot, which means that she has the opportunity to read off the paper to the judge. And she goes, 5 million. She was like kind of stuttering and saying it just to read the numbers. She's like 3 $3.5 million. My client kicks me under the table. And I'm like, I need you to relax. They are going to appeal this to hell. So he ended up settling because, of course, he wanted $4,000 for the remainder of the policy, which is about like $997,000 or something like that. Yeah. Yep.
That is fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure if I were to ask the average attorney, how earnest they are when fighting a case, and the attorney would say they're earnest, right? Most will say, right? But your backstory is different. Like, every attorney wasn't a 12-year-old girl being interrogated while innocent, and not just interrogated, threatened with deportation to France. How does that show up when you not just take on a client but a case?
I think it shows in the way that I deal with people in general. I just don't think that it was appropriate the way that they spoke to me, even as a child, right? Like, so I think that when you come into my office and we have an opportunity to speak, I'm listening to you.
Yeah.
And I find that most of the people that call, if they say that they've dealt with other attorneys, they find that their attorneys are not listening.
Yeah.
They say that they're being spoken at as opposed to, you know? And I find that that's more so how it shows itself. Yes, I've got the gusto, but there are some people that have the gusto because they got the ego. And the ego motivates them, right? And I don't really have ego because sometimes I'm like, why are we doing this? Why are you guys fighting? Do you need me to call someone? Like, can I pick up the phone and get this resolved? What are we talking about right now? You know? So I do a lot of that too. So can I be fiery? Absolutely, when it's necessary. But really, I think it's just about making sure that your client is heard fully and being able to do the thing that they've asked you to do to the best of your capability. Because it is still the practice of law, right? So to say that every client has been satisfied, I'd be lying to you, right? But they can't say that I didn't do the thing that they asked me to do to the best of my ability.
Right. But I want to double down on this, and maybe I didn't ask a specific enough question the first time. When you are responding to abuse of power in a case, does that charge you up any differently? Oh,
I see. To me, insurance companies are abusing power constantly. I think because, don't forget my areas of law, personal injury. I deal with insurance companies. It's not usually the defense attorneys. I'm going to say the insurance companies. It's not the attorneys on those. And then in family law, there are some attorneys that are absolutely ridiculous. And in those situations, I'm very clear and very frank in the way that I speak to them about what they are going to do and what they are not going to do when they speak to me, when they speak to my client, when they speak to the court, give me the same respect, things of that sort. But otherwise, I don't really see abuse of power like in the form of someone who was perhaps doing a criminal case or someone who is doing maybe even like certain civil rights type cases. I don't really experience it that way. I more so get the insurance company that is looking, they put your information into a computer and it spits out a number and they refuse to give you more than that because that's what the computer says. Or no, there's a little gap here. Now we can't pay your person. Why not? They're clearly injured. Do you want me to call them? Do you need, what are we talking about? That's where I feel like people are abusing their power. You pay your money every month for that car insurance. No one, you can't even miss a payment. You'll get a ticket.
The consequences, are immediate, and you don't get a break.
You don't get a break from paying it. Year after year after decades on decades of your life as a driver. And then if I get into this accident, you're going to make my premium increase and you can't even pay the other person for their injury?
Right. Where's the money going?
Where is the money going?
I want to ask you one more thing before we close.
Already?
Yeah, I know. It's like I told you.
I moved that other appointment.
Oh, okay. Style. Mm-hmm. We'll talk about personal style. Where do you get your style from? How would you describe
I don't know. My cousin called me Freddie from a different world the other day. I don't know. I have no idea. Sometimes I think I'm stylish. Sometimes I look back and I'm like, ooh, that didn't really do it. That wasn't what we were going for. So I have no idea.
Okay.
Am I doing okay?
You look fantastic.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you.
Every time I look at something else, I'm like, oh, and that too.
Thank you.
And earrings too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I just kind of go with what I'm very into self-expression. Mm-hmm. The other day, my son came to me with a very difficult conversation, and Amadeus, I'm sorry that I'm telling your business in advance. But, you know, someone had on nail polish that he was not understanding why that person, that boy had on nail polish. And I had to explain to him that everyone has a right to their own self-expression. Don't call them weird for that.
Right.
Because if someone called you weird, how would you feel? Yeah. Right? And he understood that. He's like, okay. And I was like, and that's a little bit of bullying. You don't want to call someone weird. Just say you don't like it and it's not for you.
Well, yeah, you just don't get it.
You just don't get it.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to get it.
Right?
Right? So that's how I am. Yeah. You want to wear that, do you? Yeah. You know, and that's kind of how I am too.
Whatever your expression is.
Right.
Yeah, I dig it. I think style is style is like love. Mm-hmm. And we really don't understand it nearly as much as we express it.
Right.
You know what I mean? But we all express it.
Yeah.
Nonetheless. You know?
Yeah.
And your style is fantastic.
Thank you.
Right? And you embody your style well. Like, you don't look like a mannequin. You don't look like you saw a mannequin and said,
let me put that on.
I want to put that on.
Sometimes I might do that a little bit. Save it for later.
But it's like, but that might be the outfit. But we get down to the bracelet and the earrings and the glasses.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
It's like, you know.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
No, for sure. It's like, it's how we speak when we're not speaking.
Right.
You know what I mean? The style, and not just. I'm just talking about fashion either. Just our style, how we carry ourselves throughout, you know, life. Is our articulation. It's like
that's probably a little bit of my mom and dad too. My dad is very like proud and he's like, be yourself, and you know, he's all of that. He's very confident, borderline arrogant, right? That's my dad. And my mom is like classy lady.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Right? She used to be the model. Right, you know what I mean? Yes, like they used to use her to model for the hidden assets, the slips. Where she right above the knee. I'm serious. She's got those pictures and her hair back in a chignon. You know what I mean? That is my mom.
I love it. Yeah. Yeah, my mother was Southern and dignified. My father was country and casual. My father never looked bad.
Yeah.
But my father would wear his work clothes all day and night if he wanted to, because you know what I mean.
He's like, I'm comfortable. It is what it is. What do I need to do that for?
Yeah, work pants.
Yes. Yes.
And he just wasn't interested in personal style that way.
They had other things to worry about.
Yeah. And it just wasn't him. Like, you know, it ain't everybody.
No.
I mean, it just wasn't him. But I think from them I get, you know, I enjoy fashion. Nothing about fashion is important to me though. Like I get that side from my dad. Like I'm enjoying this expression. I'm enjoying when I see it. I'm enjoying when I wear it. But I'm always in control. I'm never like serving fashion.
Yes.
And I find that some folks attempt to serve fashion by their fashion.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I mean, but they have the ability to do it.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of living.
Yeah.
I'm just I need a shirt. I want something breathable and comfortable, you know, and sneakers are appropriate with this,
Right. Mission accomplished.
we're done.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for this time. I appreciate this a
I
lot.
enjoyed it very, very
This
much.
was so much
I'm
fun.
sure we have a lot more that we can talk about.
We have
when
so
do
much to talk
another
about.
Episode and another after that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll definitely reach out for that.
Absolutely.